Hello viewers, welcome to our program Immigration and You. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us attorney Mr. Nachman, David Nachman. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks.
We will start our today's program with an interesting question which really relates to some topic that we have been discussing on our previous programs about prosecutorial discretion. That a question from our viewer. He says that I came to the US in January of 2000 without a visa, so without any entry. And I've been living in US since then, which means about 11 years he's living there. He has been working, paying taxes, and never committed any crime. So far, so good. In April 2001, he got married to a US citizen and applied for a permanent resident status. Unfortunately, when the interview letter came in, this wife disappeared. She didn't want to go for the interview, and by then they were separated also. So that's the way he left it there. Now, after that, there's no indication here as to whether there was an action taken by the government, deportation or anything, but
Right.
he stops there. They denied the case, and that's about what he says.
Right.
In March 2011, he got into trouble with the police, some kind of something. I don't know what happened exactly, the crime or driving or something, and they referred to the immigration service and put him in deportation proceedings. And he says he also got later on married to a US citizen, real Gujarati woman from India, and he has also one child. And he wants to know, what do I do now? Now, I am looking at several issues here, and then you can jump in and make some comments. First of all, I think I'm a little worried about the first marriage, which the woman never came in,
Right.
because we are looking at, first of all, Section 245I.
Right.
Can you adjust? Because any time a person wants to get a previous deportation removed or not, or just go ahead with a case which have this kind of problems, we want to see whether this person is eligible for 245I. Because if he came without a visa, right, and he says he did file in April 2001, so he would be, provided that marriage was not a fraud. Because you cannot get immigration benefit from a fraudulent marriage. As a matter of fact, that could be more of a problem, because there is a Section 204C of the Immigration Act, which says if a person obtained or tried to obtain any immigration benefits based upon a fraudulent marriage, then no other petition can ever be filed on his behalf. So this is something that people have to understand also in these kind of situations. They have to look at different issues like a 6C. Also, another issue that can come a problem, because I always talk about problems first. What can happen? And then see how we can help this person. In some cases where there's a clear fraud, they can also charge a person with 212A6C, which is a section of the law which puts a lifetime bar on that person. So assuming that, let's say that that's not the case and everything else is okay, then we should look at the second marriage, which obviously is bona fide because it's a Gujarati woman from India, he got a child born from her. So that is not a problem. Now, but the main problem is that we have to see also to see whether there was any deportation order coming in this. Because normally when it's find a fraudulent marriage, they deny the 485, they put the person in a deportation, and that might have happened. Or when the police arrested him, they were taken to immigration custody. He's silent on that. But we are concerned, we want to know whether there was a deportation order or just a proceeding only.
Right. Well, Michael, I think that what you're touching on is a question that a lot of our clients have when they come in and start to speak to us about figuring out what their history is, their immigration history. And what we always recommend that they do is consider doing what's called a FOIA request. FOIA is FOIA, it's Freedom of Information Act, which is it's documents that lawyers fill out on behalf of their clients and seek information from the federal government regarding prior filings. So for example, with the individual that you're mentioning here, this individual could file a FOIA request, and obviously what we would want to do is try to insulate him as much as possible so that the government doesn't find out where he lives, so we would probably do it care of our office, the law office, and we would ask for all of the documents that the government has about the prior marriage.
And following up on that, I mean, this is a particular situation where we always recommend you go to an experienced immigration lawyer who can get a complete history first, analyze it to see, do you qualify for 245I? Is there a possibility that you may have a lifetime bar? Is it possible that there may be a fraud? Is it possible that you may have a deportation order from before? So this is a very, very important thing that we can tell all the clients, people anyway.
Right, and Michael, these are all documents that are in the file that is turned over
FOIA.
by the federal government. Oftentimes what the government will do is they will redact some information. In other words, some of it will be taken away and it'll be restricted from us to be able to see it. But generally speaking, we can piece it all together to figure out what we need in order to go forward for our client.
Now, the other thing that I think this person said, that he is in deportation proceedings. So that is something happened in 2011. And there may not be a deportation order, just a proceeding. Now, this is a kind of situation, if he is still in proceeding, it may be a good idea to use the prosecutorial discretion memo, going to the ICE and telling them that not to file the papers in the court, or if that has already been done, then a good attorney like you and me can go and meet the trial attorney, the government attorney, and convince him that this case strictly falls within the purview of the prosecutorial discretion, and please don't proceed further, and he can stop. And if even he has gone through and the papers are filed before the judge, there are guidelines. You know, these guidelines are just separate memos. Prosecutor discretion to the ICE, prosecutor discretion to the government attorneys, prosecutor discretion to the judges. So each of these agencies in their own powers can exercise this discretion and give a benefit that the person is seeking for. Because one other thing is very, very important. If you're asking for prosecutorial discretion in a situation like that, question is there an underlying application? Or even if you want to get a previous deportation or reopened, the judge will say, why? What's the purpose? What do you want? I'm married to a citizen, the papers are filed. Okay, fine. That makes sense. But you just want, some client says, I want to just get my deportation case reopened. I say, why you want to get reopened? I just don't like that I should be in deportation. I say, are you married? Is there a petition? Is there any benefit application pending? He says, no. So then it's not going to happen, because you know that the judge or the attorneys are going to say, what is the purpose of reopening somebody's deportation, for what purpose?
Right. So Michael, I think that what you're suggesting is that logistically, the way it would happen is that this individual should first try to find out from a FOIA request what the government has about his prior marriage, because that's going to ultimately affect how we strategize for the case on a fully going forward basis. The next step for this individual would then be to go to the EOIR and to get a full copy of his file, which you can do. You can go up to the case manager up in the district office at the courts, and you can open up the file and you can take a look at what the court has on him. If it's determined then that you can make a joint motion, you can make a motion to reopen the case. It doesn't have to be a joint motion. You make a motion to reopen the case. Whether it's a joint motion or not will depend upon...
Obviously, joint is better.
Right. Well, it will depend upon where the case is at.
Exactly.
That's what you have to... Then you would make a motion to reopen the case, and obviously there are two ways to pull prosecutorial discretion in. One would be possibly on an oral motion before the judge, or two, which we feel would probably be the best way to handle it, would be to submit a written brief which explains why prosecutorial discretion would be beneficial for that individual.
David, the same thing you talk about a FOIA. It's something that I tell people in a different way. I say, you are at war, you are at war, right? What do you want to find out first? What are the ammunition power the enemy has? Exactly. So that you can prepare the fight better. Exactly. So this is what we are trying by FOIA to see. What does the government has? What does the government attorney has? What his position is going to be before the judge, and how we can articulate our position accordingly. So this is the way I take general people. They understand very quickly. Yes, we want to know what weapons, what ammunition the enemy has. Exactly. I don't call immigration enemy. I'm just giving an example in that sense. Also, in this kind of case, let us say there's nothing underlying, and probably there's no 245I also. But there is a deportation proceeding going on. Going on means already there, so we will deal with it. I think one thing that I could suggest, and you can also say something about that, that this person came in 2000 and we are in 2011. So he has been living in this country for 10 or 11 years, paying taxes, and never committed any crime.
Right.
And has a citizen wife now, has a child now. That may be a good case for a suspension of removal.
Right,
And you know
cancellation
that,
of removal.
and,
Yeah.
and you know that when a suspension application is made during the proceedings before the immigration judge,
Right, that's an affirmative defense.
it's an affirmative defense, and that is the only time you can file, and the judge has the discretion. If he finds that this is a good situation, that it warrants, and we can talk much more about something more about cancellation, because a lot of people are asking about, oh, what about the 10-year rule? What about the 10-year rule? They don't understand the legal terminology or the legal thing. They have heard that if you are here for 10 years, then you can just apply for suspension and get a green card on that basis, because that is another thing. If the judge grants suspension, that means he is also going to get a green card. Actually, this is a path to getting a green card very quickly for some people that are already in the proceedings. So this is another interesting question. I think we are running out of time in this program. But David, I think our people will be very happy to know little more about who may qualify for suspension of removal, what are the requirements, and how easy or difficult it is, or should it be done or should it not be done. And some of these things we can talk in our next program. And thank you very much, David, for being on the program.
Thank you so much, Michael.
And thank you all of you for watching the program. If you have any questions, comments or suggestions, please contact us and we'll be happy to respond to you. Thank you very much and goodbye.